Japan is a beautiful place that I am in, much like Miss Carl. And I don't know if Kuro's gonna let me keep that line in the video, but either way, I shouldn't be working. There's so much to do, so much to see, not much wrong with taking the back streets, but a deadline's a deadline. Zani isn't gonna wait for me to get home to release. So I was gonna let this one go, but unlike Zani, I'm just gonna work overtime. Welcome to my Zani guide, where I'm gonna be teaching you how to get the job done just in time to clock out without your boss yelling at you. But honestly, your boss yelling at you is preferable to trying to understand what the hell is going on with their kid. Oh, by the way, guys, if you didn't know, Zani's probably the most complex character we've had in Wuthering Waves, and in the spirit of being able to enjoy my trip, this will probably be my worst explained guide video. If you're coming here for super high quality, in-depth explanations like usual, you've been warned, I guess. Either way, my name is Braxophone, but you can call me Brax, and let's talk about Zani. Usually at this time of the video, I'd explain how her kit works and show you the rotation later, but instead, I'm gonna encourage you to give up and watch ReZero Season 3. The TLDR of Zani's kit is that she's a gauntlet user that uses a shield that's sometimes a sword, but that sword does most of her damage except for when it doesn't, because so much of her damage is classified as different kinds of damage such as Spectral-Frazzle damage, but not actually Spectral-Frazzle, it's Spectral-Frazzlant, which is actually called Ember. When she applies Frazzlant, it lasts for 6 seconds instead of 3 and instantly detonates, but not only that, it gives her Forte Gauge, but not the Forte Gauge you think, because she actually has a second Forte Gauge that converts her basic attacks into really big basic attacks. So you want to use 1, 2, 3 with your giant ass sword, except for when you don't, because your main Forte Gauge converts your skill into a really mid attack, or if you hold it or parry an attack, it turns into Resonance Liberation basic attack 3, which is really strong, and also the same thing as using 1, 2, 3, except you have to actually pay attention or get lucky, which if you're playing Wuthering Waves is not something you normally do. Or you can just do this. Basically, Zani wants to play with Spectral-Frazzle because she enhances it, and the more special Zani-Frazzle she puts on enemies, the more damage she's able to do. When in her Liberation, her basic attack combos eat up her second Forte Gauge, but it's a majority of her damage, so it's pretty important. There are some things that are easy to understand about Zani though, like how her rotation goes and how I want her to fold me like her lawn chair. She's genuinely one of the coolest characters to play, and if you understand how to use her, she flows incredibly well. For example, in this team with Phoebe, if you apply a ton of Frazzle with Phoebe's ultimate and her blue state, Zani's able to convert that Frazzle into her enhanced Frazzle called Ember by simply existing.
Wow!
When Zani takes the field after Phoebe, you can start with an enhanced skill to activate her Spectro-Frazzle Amplify, as well as the 5-piece Echo set. Then you can follow that up with her Echo and Ultimate, do some 1, 2, 3 combos, and her rotation just repeats, and I'll go into more detail in just a second. Her skill isn't crazy hard to use, and it gives you tons of benefits depending on the version of it that you activate. One of the benefits being that same Spectro-Frazzle Amplify. Considering that her damage in her ultimate counts as Spectro-Frazzle damage, it's pretty dang important. One thing worth mentioning is that she has 50 different versions of her skill, and the one that's not enhanced or changed by anything is a shield bash that puts Zani in what's called a block stance. It makes it so that if you basic attack once within the right time, you actually use basic attack 3. And during the block stance, if you take a hit, that damage gets reduced to 0 and enemy targets get stagnated. While her forte is full, or while she's in her ultimate, her skill becomes holdable for a parry that can be perfectly timed or just held. And during it, you have 100% interruption resistance, so you can basically ignore everything as long as it does not explicitly end you. And that's why the button at the bottom right of your screen changes sometimes. The actual rotation Zani executes is very simple, but she's got enough depth that highly skilled players can get even more damage out of her. But for me, I'd prefer to keep things simple. I can't have you guys thinking I'm good at the game. So I've already kind of mentioned this in passing, but I'm not going to even try and attempt to explain all of the things that Zani does, because you'd have a better chance of memorizing every single card in Magic the Gathering. But I will tell you how to play her. I'm gonna synthesize this into your brain. You can start by playing Zani and hitting a 1-2-3 basic attack combo into her skill, or skill into basic attack 3 combo. For some reason, hitting skilled skips the first two. If you've played Carlotta, it's more or less the same reason. You want to fill up your forte to proc your enhanced skill later in order to get that Frazzle Amplify. Technically, you don't have to do that though, because you can also just do a 1-2-3 skill combo when Zani takes the field within Shorekeepers plus the Moonlit Cloud set buffs. The big difference is that you'll get more damage if you use that 1-2-3 combo within buffs, but it also gives you less chances to mess up, since Shorekeepers buffs could technically run out before you finish the combo if you're not quick. So for casual players, starting the rotation and fight with a 1-2-3 skill or skill 3 before starting your Shorekeeper, Verena, or just whatever your first character is gonna be a lot easier. But for advanced players, you can just start your rotation or fight off with your first character, or Shorekeeper is the example we're using, and try and land her 1-2-3 within buffs before you start her actual rotation. But what is her actual rotation? Well, after you get that forte bar filled a bit, let's say by starting the fight off with a 1-2-3 skill, then you can actually begin. You're gonna swap off Zani into your first character and play character 1, and then you're gonna swap off into your second character. This will usually be the character that applies Spectral Frazzle, which is in this example Phoebe, and then you're gonna swap off Phoebe and play Zani. If you can quick swap to Zani for a parry before you use her ultimate, but that's only for seasoned gamers trademark. Make sure to skill before ultimate though, regardless, just to make sure that you get the Spectral Frazzle Amplify from her kit, as well as trigger her 5-piece Echo set. Then use her Echo and pop her ultimate, and you're basically just gonna use basic attack 1-2-3, enhanced basic, which is called Nightfall in the Ocean, that is her entire skill description, then basic 1-2-3 again, and Nightfall again, then tap her skill, use her ultimate finisher, then 1-2-3 skill again for that forte, and after that you can clock her out. She wants to go home. I know it sounds complicated, but it is quite literally skill, echo, ultimate, 1-2-3, nightfall, 1-2-3, nightfall, skill, finisher, 1-2-3 skill, then get out of there. So I hope that makes it easier to understand how to play her, because it really isn't that complicated to actually put into action. I think it will literally take you longer to learn to play her if you try to figure out what she actually does. There are 3 other things to note that are: 1, Zani doesn't have many self buffs in the form of damage percent or attack percent. Most of her damage counts as Spectral Frazzle damage, and she's actually quite interesting because she gives herself Amplify. So sets like Moonlit Clouds that give an attack buff can be extra helpful for her. Number 2, her outro skill does significantly more damage based on the amount of Ember the enemy has on them. And 3, I forgot what I was gonna say, I was a little distracted. When it comes to leveling Zani's talents, I'd recommend going with her Forte first, then Liberation and Skill, and then her intro skill and basic attack. Throughout history, there have been many reasons to defy the status quo, to rise against the odds. In Renacita though, that ain't me talk glory of the Montellis. One interesting thing about Zani is she wants a 3-cost Echo in her main slot, which defies what we usually see characters doing. But personally, I like it, because it makes her build a little different. And by a little different, I mean like you literally just take one 3-cost and switch it with a 4-cost, but you still have 4-3-3-1-1. Anyways, first off, you'll want to use Eternal Radiance set on her, since it gives her a ton of crit rate when Frazzle is inflicted. It gives her the most damage of any set with its 2-piece bonus, and the 5-piece one you'll sometimes activate for more Spectre damage bonus. It literally says it works in the kit. Were you expecting a different set? As for the main stats, it's your usual DPS build with crit rate or damage 4 costs, depending on what you need, 2 Spectre damage 3 costs, and 2 attack percent 1 costs. In your main Echo slot, you'll want to use the Capitanius? Oh, Captain, my Captain. That Echo gives you some passive heavy and Spectre damage bonuses, but also it's a summon Echo, meaning it doesn't take any of Zani's field time and still dishes out its damage when you activate it. And on top of that, this guy mogs literally every other Echo. There are other options options, such as building double spectral damage bonus echo sets, but honestly, that crit rate you get for the 5-piece is insane, and I would just suck it up and farm if you haven't already. For substats, if you're not playing with Phoebe, I recommend trying to get around 130% energy regen in substats alone to be able to use her liberation every single rotation. But with Phoebe, you technically only really need about 120%, and if you're playing the Phoebe Rover team, you only need 110. So other than that, look for your standard crit rate and crit damage stats, and attack percent is another good one to watch out for. There's actually more to talk about with echo sets, but it's kind of team dependent, so I'll talk about those in a bit. Go ahead and take a seat. Let me tell you about Zani's weapons. When I saw Zani's gameplay, I was so hyped because what do you mean she has a giant shield that turns into a sword? So naturally, I leveled up all of my great swords since that's what any normal, sane, rational person would do. Anyways, I'm gonna go strap both my legs to a car battery. As the first premium gauntlet user, because John Wuwa was free, I was expecting a little more punching. Or maybe it's just because I want Zani to beat me. Either way, she has a lot of gauntlet options, like her signature Blazing Justice and the 5-star Tragic Comedy, and oh my god, I forgot Rachio was a 5-star. Blazing Justice gives her Spectro Frazzle Amp, Defense Ignore, and Attack Bonus, as well as a big crit damage main stat to essentially turn your Zani from this into this. But any other premium 5-star gauntlet will also be fine. Abyss Surges is also great for her if you don't have other options, but the 4-star crafted Legend of a Drunken Hero ends up being crazy good for her even as a 4-star option, because you can always activate its effect 100% of the time. Even though the damage from Legend of a Drunken Hero ends up being significantly less than her signature, you'll still easily clear all the content with Zani since her damage is so high. Now for reference, here's a damage comparison of weapons for Zani that showcases what to expect with each weapon. The year is 2025, and we are finally getting to the part of Wuthering Waves where characters in their teams that you're building actually kind of matter. Like, don't get me wrong, there are characters with synergies and stuff, but you've seen plenty of people solo Tower of Adversity by now. Well, even if Tower of Adversity isn't getting super difficult or anything, there are characters that are clearly built to work together and with each other, and right now, Zani takes advantage of that. Her current best team is Shorekeeper, Phoebe, and herself, because Phoebe spans Frazzle, and Shorekeeper is just so insane with the amount of buffs that she puts out. But one of the biggest downsides of this team is that, unfortunately, that is 3 premium characters that you need to build it. And even though it's pulling numbers pretty similar to Carlotta in her best teams, it's still very expensive. But the benefits of it are that the rotation is very, very simple. You play Blue Phoebe, you get Spectro Frazzle inflicted, you play Zani, and you blow up the enemy. If for some reason you don't have access to Shorekeeper though, you can totally just go Spectro Rover instead. And funny enough, the damage is actually very close. This is because Spectro Rover themselves are able to apply Frazzle, but on top of that, their damage is just pretty dang good, especially with the new Spectro set. If played with the correct rotation, which is going to be different from the Phoebe Shorekeeper rotation, it's only about 5% worse than just running the Phoebe Shorekeeper combo. So honestly, considering that Rover's a free character, it's a pretty hype team. Now, you also have the option of running Verena with Phoebe and Zani as well, but what if you don't have Phoebe? Well, you can run Rover instead of Phoebe, and you can run it with Shorekeeper or Verena, but as soon as you take Phoebe out of the team, you start to see some big drops in damage. The thing is, Phoebe makes it so easy to get access to Spectro Frazzle and enables you to use the full extent of Zani's kit very quickly and efficiently with full Spectro Frazzle bonuses. It's just really difficult to let Phoebe go out of one of these teams. But it's not hopeless, because the damage, albeit a lot lower than running with Phoebe and Shorekeeper or Phoebe and Rover, if you don't happen to have Phoebe, you're still able to dish out millions of damage over a few rotations, and it's honestly quite incredible. You can even go as far as to run Mortifi, which I don't really recommend it, but you can. If you're just looking for a comparison, here's some teams and their simulated damage. This is all theoretical and can change based on your experience and what enemies are sort of in the endgame content, but this is sort of what you're looking at. But before we move on to sequence nodes, there is sort of one more thing we need to talk about, which is going to be the Moonlit Cloud set. Now, the Moonlit Cloud set is a support echo set that gives you a massive attack bonus on the next character after the character that has it swaps off. And on top of that, if you're using the Heron on that set, that echo can also pass a big damage bonus to your next character. Well, I say big, it's not really that insane, but you know, every little bit helps and size doesn't matter. Well, when playing with Zani, you're gonna actually want to throw away most of Phoebe's damage and use her mostly as utility. Not to say she's doing no damage, but it's nothing insane. You want to put Moonlit on Phoebe if you're playing with her, or just on the character right before Zani to give Zani all of those buffs. Like I talked about earlier, Zani benefits a lot from damage bonus buffs and attack percent buffs, and you want her to take advantage of the Moonlit set getting passed to her. This applies to basically every single Zani team. But anyways, that's enough yapping. Let's get to the spending part of the video, because I know a lot of you probably set some savings aside for Zani. Here's about the part where I usually mention something along the lines of yada yada, you simp, you're gonna spend on the character, but with so many great characters coming up, you might actually be cooked. Zani does have horns though, so you know what? Maybe Chikona can wait.
No.
If you're on the fence, here's what you need to know about Zani's sequence nodes. Her S1 makes it so that when you use her enhanced skill, or I guess just alternate skill, whatever it was she has when she has full forte or when she's in her ultimate, she gets a massive 50% spectral damage bonus for 14 seconds, and she gets immunity to interruptions when she uses her Nightfall skill that I mentioned earlier in the video. But that's not all for her enhanced skills, because S2 is also huge for them with a massive 80% multiplier increase and a general base 20% crit rate bonus for Zani as a whole. S3 is a multiplier increase on her Liberation finisher based on how much Blaze she consumes, which is her second forte bar. S4 is a team-wide attack buff when Zani's intro pops, and S5 is a pretty huge Liberation multiplier increase. Lastly, S6 increases all of the multipliers of her 1-2-3 Nightfall combo, as well as makes it so that Zani gets a ton of bonus Forte 2 bar when she has lower than 70% of it. And as a bonus, she also gets 1 use of Death Immunity, leaving her at 1 HP when she would normally die, because she won't clock off until the workday is done, I guess. How like you, Zani? Sequence 1 and 2 are crazy good value for damage, but in my opinion, she does the job well enough at E0, and there's too many good characters on the way to spend your Astrites if you're free to play. If you're gonna spend on her, I'd recommend going for her weapon first, personally, since the damage differences between that and 4-star weapons are pretty dang big. Actually, you know what? Just look at this. Now, just like Zani, I'm out of here and off the clock. I'm gonna go hit up a banger ramen shop or something.